I'll just get my PowerPoint up and hopefully I can share my screen with you.
Is it pretty?
Okay, can everybody see that? Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah,
Lovely.
perfect.
I'm just going to shut the door because my dog keeps running in and running out. She's not well at the moment. Okay, thank you everybody for allowing me to come today to speak to you around digital careers in digital Southend. I live in Southend. I live and breathe in Southend, and I'm rolling out a major broadband programme that will digitally transform Southend in the next 2 years. But really, I just wanted to give you a flavour of what is happening, because when we say digital, digital means so much and means so many different things to different people. So just a very quick background just on who City Fibre are. We're building a world-class digital network in Southend. We started work in July 2019. And we are bringing the world's fastest broadband speed to Southend. And we hope to complete that project by next year, which isn't that far away. And in the pandemic, in the last year, it's really come into its own with people working from home, with homeschooling. All of that reliance on a good quality broadband network is really key to the future of our economy, to the future of the next generation as well. We are very lucky, and we are so lucky that we are one of the few companies that are actually growing in the pandemic because of the need for this. And it is now really in the same scope as a utility, like water, like electricity. If people don't have their broadband, it's very hard to operate with regards, working and also your daily life, from banking to e-health. We are also recruiting. We have a big recruitment drive over the next 3 years. We are looking at creating over 10,000 jobs as we really scale up and bring this full fibre network to all over the UK. And we're looking to cover to pass around 8 million homes altogether. So it is an exciting time. These are challenging times at the same time, but I do think Southend will be in a very good position when we do emerge post COVID, and we will, pioneer. I think Southend is a very pioneering city in its own right. I just want to touch on the startup scene. As I said before, I mean, digital means so many things to so many people. You've got the digital technical, which, is your computer codeware, your software developers, your Python, SQL database. You've got your digital marketing, which enables you to get on, to sell your business. And you also have a digital creative scenes. So it captures really a whole wide diversity of different career options. And I think if you put in digital, within the Indeed search engine, if you put in digital into that and refine it to the Southend code, you've got 494 jobs there, and they can, from Southend Hospital looking for robotics. To a digital sculptor in a gaming studio in Hockley. So there's lots of opportunities around, and this is only going to grow and grow. But I just wanted to touch on the startup scene and the startup businesses as well. And Southend, I don't know whether you actually are aware of this, but Southend is one of It's got a very good startup scene. It's got one of the highest rates of business startups in the country, but also on the flip side of that, it does have a high rate of failures, but that should be looked at in a positive manner, because out of every failure, you will learn something and you go on to try something else. There is one, I'd like to touch on one startup which is, well, it's really two businesses he has started. He used to be in the University of Essex in Southend, and he studied international business and entrepreneurship. And it's a guy called Aaron Jones. He started up, first of all, he started up a business when he was in university in Southend. During a summer trip, he was in Cambodia. He saw the poverty that was happening, and he asked himself what he could do about it. And he started up an eco-sustainable fashion clothing line, where the communities in Cambodia got a higher supply chain price for the products, and went back into the education of the children within a certain area in Cambodia. And some of the products were wallets, t-shirts, socks, just very run-of-the-mill, and it went very, very well. It was featured on MTV. And it's also been bought out since. So that's started off in Southend, from the Southend campus, and it's a socially conscious business that was online. Since then, he has passed the baton on to a new owner, and he has started up another business, which is in the line of artificial intelligence and automation. And this is around how his business is around creating digital actors, and how basically how you can actually use digitized actors to personalize emails and chatbots to to people via businesses. So some of the roles he has at the moment is marketing intern, business development. Again, they're all digital, within the digital space, and also a full stack developer, which requires the computer science qualifications on that background. Aaron was awarded, I think it's only 28 or 29, but he was recently awarded a BEM from the Queen as well. So it's an incredible story. It shows that there is so much. I suppose there's a real awareness of the social conscious, and I think the green agenda as well, which is coming through, and it just shows that there is hope out there, that these roles like this and businesses like this are based in Southend, and also they can be, you can have, while you can base yourself here, you have a global market, and that's something that we all need to be very aware of as we go on. Another great success story, and I don't know whether you've heard of this one. It's Grounded, and this is it's founded by a lady called Tasha Harris in Leigh-on-Sea. She started it up in her home, in her kitchen. Tasha suffered from eczema, and her and her partner came up with a body scrub made of coffee beans. Again, recyclable, sustainable agenda. They did go on Dragon's Den a couple of years back, or probably back in around 2016, 2017. They were offered investment. However, the investment never came forthwith from, I think it was Sarah Wilmington at that time, that was the Dragon's Den judge. But they had, again, they stuck with it. They're now stocked in Boots and Holland & Barrett. The products are also within, on some of the airlines, which are flying at the moment with Thomas Cook and Hong Kong Airlines. They have 30 people employed, but this business is based on, online. Apart from your Boots and Holland & Barrett, it's got its main, where it thrives is online. They use social media to a very sophisticated level. Instagram and Facebook are their main outlets. And again, they recruit brand ambassadors to sell that. So I think at the moment their turnover is something like 15 million. So again, in the short space of kind of 5 years, you've got a multi-million-pound business. So another amazing story for Southend. Apart from that as well, we are very lucky in that we have some tech employers, some really good quality tech employers. We've got Olympus KeyMed, where they design clinical precision technologies for diagnostic equipment like endoscopy and imaging systems. And also Ventrica, at the moment they have over 800 employees, and they're very much a technology-led company. And in the old days you would call it a customer call center, but that has really evolved. So what they have done with their business model is not only is it just the calls coming through, through their center for some big names like Burberry, Jimmy Choo, New Look, Virgin Airlines as well. You've got a different aspect in that they look after their digital channels for these retailers like Burberry, and their social media. So that again, and I know they actively recruit, and they've handled the whole pandemic. They've grown through the pandemic as well. They were working in Tyler Street in Southend, but they have now taken all their employees and they're working at home. And remote working is more or less part and parcel now, or will be part and parcel of this new post-COVID when we do come out of it. So we're very lucky within that aspect. I just want to go back to the City Fibre, to our own recruitment campaign. And while we're building these networks and we are recruiting, I'll just go back to the over 10,000 jobs that we're looking to recruit over the next 3 years. Majority of these are in construction in the first phase. And then in the second phase, we're also looking at quite a high number of project managers, project coordinators, surveyors, and network planners. And I suppose for students that were going to be on the job market in 2 to 3 years' time, there is something, I think I just want to come back to kind of gaming. And gaming is good. I know from at the moment, there's quite a lot of Xbox and PlayStation 5 use in people's homes, going through, the usage is pretty much going through the roof. But what gaming is actually teaching, teaching our children is it is decision making, it's teamwork, it's collaboration. We are presently at the moment doing a pilot on gamification and using it as a recruitment tool for graduates and new people joining our organisation. And in a way, it takes away the bias that can sometimes happen in the recruitment process, as to what school, what ethnicity you are. So it takes all that away, and gives a more level playing field around who is the best candidate for this job. And we design these games, or we're looking at a beta game where we're looking at how quickly people can make a decision, and look at how they, their strategy abilities, to kind of how they interact with other team players as well. So it's an interesting one. So I would say gaming is good, on the big picture. It also, the other area that we look for is initiative. It is a mindset. You might have the most incredible grades, but if you don't have that get up and go, or that curiosity, or the ability to be challenging, that is another thing. That is another quality that we do look for in our graduates. And finally, I won't keep you too long. The most important thing, and I know from a HR angle, is a student's digital footprint. And if there is one thing I would say is, please, just if you could take one message from this, is to get across to young people today, is their privacy settings, and to ensure that they are indeed private, because we've had so many situations, not only with City Fibre, but in a previous career as well, where young people have, 4 years down the line, 5 years, that they didn't realise there was a comment online, and that has affected their employment prospects. So do get them to do a digital audit on themselves. Do get them to look at their digital footprint and be mindful of what they put out there, because it follows you on, and that's the big thing. Because whether we like it or not, this is what happens. Everybody can Google everybody and see what comes out of that. Finally, I just want to just raise awareness. City Fibre have an Inspire Your City challenge on for dedicated for Southend schools only. It is a resource pack that you can download, and I'm very happy to send the email out in this chat. But it raises awareness of the technology and industry, and there's a different number of projects all online that can be done through remote teaching, and it also encourages creative and business skills. There is £500 in technology prizes for Southend primary schools and secondary schools, and £250 in runner-up prizes as well. So I'll be very happy to share those details with you if you're interested. There's very little. It's all the lesson packs are there, ready and waiting to go, really. So that's really it. I'll cut short there. And yeah, I'm happy to take any questions.
That's fab. Thank you very much, Aideen, and thank you for stepping in last minute as well to go first. If you've got any questions for Aideen, pop them into the chat. It's likely we're going to have about 5 minutes at the end of this session for questions, but if you have any at the moment, feel free to pop them in. But we'll just now go to Jim, who's come back onto the call. For the sort of the last 5 minutes. Are you okay to stick to 5 minutes, Jim? Just so we've got some time for questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really sorry about that. As I say in the chat, the builder turned off my Wi-Fi unexpectedly. So yeah, I'll whiz through.
Not a problem.
All right. So here we go. So from my perspective, so I work for the LEP, so the Local Enterprise Partnership across Essex, Kent and East Sussex. So my job, put very simply, is around connecting people up, including schools and charities and private sector, to do things in and around the digital sector and digital jobs. So just skipping through. So the first slide really is just to make that point that for all government departments, the ones we're dealing with, digital skills and the digital sector understandably is right at the forefront. The two things I really wanted to mention were, one, this idea of a digital skills partnership. We're very lucky across Essex, Kent and East Sussex that we're one of just 7 of these partnerships with support from the Department for Culture, Media and Sport across the country. Secondly, for DFE, and you all will have your dealings with DFE, but I had a conversation only yesterday about digital and technical boot camps, where they're talking about retraining our workforce for things like cybersecurity, data analytics, and that kind of stuff, and software development that we need to retrain people for. There's trends that were happening before COVID even, and I guess we've got kind of a 2-track thing, and opportunities for young people. So on the one hand, we've got this global and national and regional trend towards those kind of high level artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, cloud computing that's exploded even more through COVID, etc., etc. So we've got this national and global trend towards those kind of things, but at the same time, at the lower level, and I don't use that in any way of dismissing SMEs, but this opportunity for young people in that businesses still, even now, even so far into this pandemic, on online or making use of online as much as they could do. Only 57% of our workforce in the southeast have what the government classes essential digital skills for work, which means that opportunity for individuals to jump sectors, to retrain into new sectors isn't necessarily there. But for young people who are tech savvy, tech capable, there are those opportunities too. And even before COVID, there were 40,000 digital jobs advertised each year across our big region, software development coming consistently high. So lots of opportunities for young people, mainly in a sense around helping small business, because we're 97% small business across the region, to become more digitally aware and capable. So just in terms of 3 jobs, and I sort of scrabbled around yesterday to look for 3 good examples. And what you've got is 3 different jobs, not necessarily in specifically the digital sector, but that's one of the points I wanted to make. I would argue that there isn't a digital sector as such anymore, that actually it's digital jobs throughout each of our sectors. So you've got digital marketing, which is really prevalent across Essex and across the region. You've got fraud analytics at NatWest in Southend, and digital technology solutions degree apprenticeship, and that's the software development that I mentioned about being quite prevalent across our region and in fact across the country. The latter 2 jobs, I just wanted to make this point that if you look at the job descriptions, both are saying no prior coding, programming experience, no knowledge of coding or programming languages, even fraud prevention and investigation, the kind of technical skill that they're looking for that fraud job at NatWest. Actually, what they're saying, they're not necessarily needed. It goes back to a point Adine may have made, and my apologies for missing it, but these employers, even though they're digital jobs, even though they're digital sector, actually what they're still after are those skills that have been going on for time immemorial from employers. So analytic skills, problem solving capabilities, communication and collaboration and team working, keen eye for details. These are things that have been in job descriptions for years and years and years, and jobs that you and I applied for. They're no different in that sense. So those key skills, those employability skills, are still important for young people. The first job does mention about having sort of desirable skills around video editing, web design, social media. But again, many of the young people you'll be dealing with have that through their social media, their Instagram, their TikTok, whatever. They're all content producers nowadays, even if they might not consider that themselves. And the last point, just very quickly, you've got pictures there of robotic builders, robot fish that are patrolling Gihon Harbour. A news story yesterday about haggle bots that are becoming a thing. It is really hard to predict trends around digital jobs and the digital sector because things are happening so fast. And in that sense, the 3 suggestions I might make, one is that online portfolio. So even if it's simply their social media reach and that kind of thing, have young people building that online portfolio. Secondly, for those that want to go into the higher level stuff, which we know is out there, yes, continue to study computer science, do your after school coding and gaming clubs, broaden your experience in your bedroom of programming languages and latest technologies. But again, it goes back to this point that companies are still looking for a set of skills that are the same that you and I applied for jobs: problem solving, communication, interpersonal skills. So those things remain really important, even if they're digital sector jobs and digital jobs across all of our key sectors. So I think I kept it to just over 5 minutes. I think I'm done there, Rosie. So thanks ever so much, and my apologies again.
No, thank you very much to you, Jim, and Aideen. That was a fantastic presentation. Michaela's asked if she can get both presentations, and I'll circulate them after the meeting if that's okay with you both.
Yeah, of course.
We've got another question from Tracy Thompson, and that's: digital skills are something that young people with special educational needs and disabilities can engage with. Is there any specific support for this group? Jim or Aideen, are you aware of any?
Yeah, so I mean, just thinking of one of our partners on the digital skills partnership, a lady called Kit Oyevu. She runs an organisation called Mindweaver AI, and what they are specifically about, as well as sort of diversity of the tech workforce in its broadest possible sense, including people with special educational needs and that kind of thing. They also do around sort of raising BAME individuals within tech sectors and digital jobs. So as an example, Mindweaver AI might be worth speaking to from that point of view, but there are lots of organizations out there that are operating in and around and can provide the kind of support. I mean, one thing I would say, and it's a sweeping statement, and it's probably not the statement to make, but when I speak to digital companies, I've heard a few of them say that in a sense we welcome people on that kind of autistic spectrum because they have they think about things in the way we want them to think about. As I say, that's a sweeping statement. I know there's all manner of things in between that spectrum, but digital sector companies are looking out specifically for people with those kind of special educational needs, but different capabilities, I should say, probably.
And just very quickly to add to that, there's also another organisation, abilitynet.org.uk. They also help around this agenda as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. And we'll pop them links into the chat. We've got another question from Nick Dunn at Eastwood Academy. This one's to James. How do you work with schools to help develop children's skills? Do you connect schools with employers?
Yeah, so our work, so we have a working group. So we identified our priorities way back at the start of the partnership, one of which is specifically about supporting education. So whether that's students or teachers at all ages, and whether that's school or FE or university, through that group, a lot of those connections happen between employers and schools and colleges and universities, of course. But at the same time, we're also working with organisations that are coming to our partnership and those other 6 to find ways in which they might work more closely with schools. So, for example, I've got a conversation this week with Barclays Life Skills, who have got a lot of primary school content, for example, secondary school content as well. And we're looking with them at how we can widen their message, amplify their message, I guess. The other thing to say is as well is that on our new Southeast Skills website, it's skillsoutheast.org.uk, we've put the first iteration of a digital skills prospectus up there. So individuals, whether that's students or teaching staff, or senior leadership teams, can go onto that site, look up through a number of categories, all of the online resources that are out there, because they're numerous. But that may in itself be helpful to schools looking at the way they train up their teaching staff and their pupils. But yeah, I suppose the short answer, and I've given the long one, is very much so, yes. And it's people like Rosie through the CEC network that will look to do that connection if they need that kind of help.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Jim. Any other questions? Feel free to put your hand up in the last couple of minutes. Okay, there's no more questions in the chat, and if we don't see any more hands, that's been really, really great. Thank you very much, James and Aideen. Oh, we've got one more. We've got one more comment. Can you please write that web address in the chat? Yeah, I'm going to find. James, just before you go, can you just check the Mindweaver one that I've put in the chat is correct? And then I'm going to just look for the other ones.
Yeah, I think the one you've got is right. I mean, I'll put my email address in there as well, because if anyone wants to get in contact, and you know, even with that Nick's question in mind about connecting employers with schools, then absolutely, that's something we might be able to assist with if it's not already happening. But that's my email address in there now.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Aideen and James. That's been fantastic, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.